To all those above me that watch over me, to all of you, my fave parapeeps on this side of the veil, welcome. This is Shawn Whittington's Paranormal Ministry Live 2.0. I'm your host, Deacon Shawn Whittington. I'm a deacon with the United States Old Catholic Church, and I'm coming to you live from my haunted house, my very haunted house, where I live. Got a great show today, but you already all know that. That's why you've tuned in. I'm so excited to have my guest here, and this show is going to rock. I'm very excited. So let's get through some of my other stuff real quick here. Let me check my prayer urn. Shelly A. Hi, Shelly from California. Suggestions on beating holiday depression. Please offer up prayer for all those in a dark place this time of year. Shelly, I hope you're not speaking of you, but I will offer up a prayer for you. And yeah, I get inundated with people this time of year just depressed. It is what it is. The holiday seasons, for whatever reason, you can't get together with family. You don't have money to buy gifts. There's people that are sick in the family, or you have no family. You're all alone, and you feel all alone. And the list goes on and on and on. Why? But the holidays, it just does it to people. This is my advice. I know it doesn't feel like you're speeding up, but depression actually, in my humble opinion, things start spiraling out of control, and you just need to work on your inner peace and slowing everything down. So yes, for everybody that's reached out to me, including Shelly, about that, I'm going to offer up a very nice prayer for each and every one of you and everyone within the sound of my voice that may be struggling with depression this time of year. Okay, this is a good one. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Slow me down, Lord. Ease the pounding of my heart by the quieting of my mind. Steady my hurried pace with a vision of the eternal reach of time. Give me amid the confusion of the day, the calmness of the everlasting hills. Break the tensions of my nerves and muscles with the soothing music of the singing streams that live in memory. Help me to know the magical restoring power of sleep. Teach me the art of taking minute vacations, of slowing down to look at a flower, to chat with a friend, to pat a dog, to read a few lines of a good book. Slow me down, Lord. Amen. That goes out to Shelley and everyone else that's feeling that things are spiraling out of control this holiday season.
Hey, Shawn, I wanted to add something to that. And there was something in that prayer that you said that we hear all the time on Footprints Forward, where we talk about suicide and people who are having mental health issues. And they're very true. That this is the season where, it's a big deal. The worst thing you can do, Shelley, the worst thing you can do is keep it in. Talk to someone. Don't think that it's going to just go away on its own. Just reach out and talk to someone. And then my other plea is to everyone else out there. Be available for somebody to talk to, because remember, not everybody is as lucky as the next person. So just always remember, if somebody comes to you, they're coming to you because in a place of need. And maybe it's just a smile that they need. But talk to them. Be available. Share their stories. Share your story. And share in the happiness of the season. So.
And while I have you here real quick.
Yeah.
I think you wanted to make a quick announcement about something that you've got going on. We had one of God's wonderful creatures, a horse, pass away with some friends of yours, and you're going to have a special show after my show.
Yeah, immediately after the Rev show at just at the top of the hour. If you switch over to the PAC channel, I've got a special interview I performed with J.R. Smith from the Veterans Ranch. The Veterans Ranch is equine therapy for our heroes and Gold Star parents who suffer loss or emotional struggle. They lost a horse this last week, King, and lost him to just, it's one of the things that happens with horses, and it's a sad thing. But this is a terrible time because they just got in the 3 horses all together, and so now they have to pay for the loss of the 1 horse, and they need help with the other 2 horses. So we've got a special show talking about King and how you can help out the Veterans Ranch right after the Rev show. If you just go to the PAC channel right here on Facebook or on YouTube. So thanks for that, Shawn. I appreciate it.
No problem, brother. No problem, brother.
You know, hey, just again, everybody, remember, this is a hard time for a lot of people. So just be there for someone.
Great advice. Great advice. Thank you, brother. Okay, real quick, let's check the mailbag. Richard D. Hi, Richard, from Maine. I haven't had anybody reach out to me from Maine in a long time. Hi, Richard. Apparitions of children's spirits. Are they always demonic? Thoughts? Well, my thoughts are... my thoughts are...
Those children are.
Yeah. I have an unusual... I call them my spidey senses, that when I'm in the presence of the demonic, it's hard to fool me. Have I been fooled before? I'm sure many, many, many times. I'm only human. But I'm thinking of the black-eyed children, or even that. Speaking of my guest today, there was an episode with a young boy named Sam in the Legion of Exorcists where a child's spirit had appeared to him, which wasn't really the spirit of a child. And like even here in my home, my wife will see my doppelganger. I call it a doppelganger because it looks just like me. It fools her, but it always turns into this apparition of a child that walks through the home and then leaves. But I don't get my spidey senses up during that sort of stuff. I'll tell you what you do, Richard. This is whenever I'm in doubt, and I'm in doubt a lot. I love this. I'm going to go ahead and say this real quick because I don't get to say this enough to people. Dear friends, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits to see whether they are from God, because many false prophets have gone into the world. This is how you can recognize the Spirit of God. Every spirit that acknowledges that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh is from God, but every spirit that does not acknowledge Jesus is not from God. This is the spirit of the Antichrist, which you have heard is coming, and even now is already in the world. 1 John chapter 4, verse 1 through 3. So yeah, I always ask when in doubt, and like I said, I'm in doubt a lot. I always ask the Spirit, or do you recognize Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior and Creator? And they usually, forgive my French, go a little batshit when I say that, if they're up to no good. So there you go. But yes, if there's anything you want to know about my wife and I and our ministry work, go to our website, www.ghost-b-gone.biz. And if you go there to visit, keep in mind my wife and I don't charge for our ministry work helping people with their paranormal issues. So if you go there to visit and you're able to do so, click on the donate button and send my ministry in a small donation. I promise you it'll be appreciated from the bottom of our hearts. And trust me, we'll put it to good use. Everything's there you want to know about us. My books, God, Ghosts, and the Paranormal Ministry, and God, Ghosts, and the Paranormal Ministry 2. And I'm running a special on these. 100% of the profits from book sales off of my website go to support stjude.org, St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, and the ASPCA up to New Year's Day. So we get to do a great deed, help some of the neediest children on the planet, and the animals too. How cool is that? And then, of course, from New Year's Day on, it'll be the usual part of the proceeds of book sales. Will still continue to support those causes throughout 2024. I've been supporting, St. Jude Children's Hospital and St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital in Nevada since I've known my wife, 20 years, and the ASPCA. I've been in the animal care industry most of my adult life, so as far back as I can remember, I've always helped out the ASPCA. So anything you can do to help, and then you get a couple of nice books that I hope you enjoy. But everything's there. My course is there, Introduction to Spiritual Warfare course. All my students that graduate get a stunning diploma, along with some very special blessed gifts that you can only get from me. You can enroll in the course there at the website. There's a place to make an appointment with me to talk about spiritual issues, not paranormal, but spiritual issues if you need that type of counseling and advice. So everything's there at the website. Just go there if you need that. Okay, the moment of truth. The reason why it took me so darn long to get this special individual on my show is because since James Brown passed, may you rest in peace, Godfather of Soul, this is the hardest working man in showbiz. I kid you not. He's always working. And even today, he skipped out on something to keep his commitment with me and be here today. So God bless him. People ask me all the time about him, and I always tell people a nicer, more talented person you couldn't find to portray me on Eli Roth Presents the Legion of Exorcists. And he did a fantastic job. And we're going to talk to him about that and talk to him about his lifelong personal paranormal experiences and his life as a world-renowned escape artist, and just such an interesting individual, and you guys are going to love him. So without further ado, please give a big, warm Paranormal Ministry welcome to the one and only actor Steve Crawford.
All right, Dollface. I've got an offer you can't refuse.
I was a little disappointed. I needed those eyeballs. Windows to the soul, really.
Even when dead?
Preserved.
Howdy, neighbor. How goes the garden?
A woman's work is never done.
Ain't that the truth?
God talks to me. He tells me things. In the aftermath, the gospel will all be revealed.
I'm sorry, Isabel. Your professor told me how much you wanted to study with me to prepare for your audition. No matter how hard I try, I cannot come up with the right formula for the perfect car deal. I don't think he was loving her tender, so I was all shook up. Nobody move, but the girl gets it. Drop that gun, Sheriff.
This way's quicker. Don't worry, it's a shortcut. Before I kill you, I'm gonna make sure you learned your lesson.
She's been a lifetime at my side. I made her disappear so many times. You like this one? I like it too. You gotta pay for that. Joke's on you, spaceman! Those were worthless books anyway.
Do you know that one?
The Little Dropper?
The Little Dipper?
What's a dipper?
I don't know.
We catch the killer, you girls are safe, and I become the new Soviet hero. Don't excite me.
Oh my gosh. Well, hello. My gosh, what an introduction to
Steve, let me take a moment to say this to you. There's a couple of firsts on the show today, and I didn't even tell Zach this.
Okay.
Today happens to be my 200th episode. I couldn't think of a better guest it's in the cards that you were supposed to be here today. My 200th episode, And another first is I've never interviewed myself. So this is going to be this is going to be very interesting. So let me start with this. And then I'm going to just shut up and let you talk about anything you want to talk about because you've had such an interesting life. I know through the grapevine, I talk to people and people tell me things. They talk about you behind your back in front of your face to me all the time. Here's the thing. The thing is, you are a man of faith. I know that. You've also had many, many paranormal experiences in your life. And I know that you really aggressively and passionately went after landing this role as me in Legion of Exorcists. In fact, I don't know if you sent it to me. I tried to find it because I was going to give it to Zach to play. I don't know if it was the whole thing or a piece of it, but I received, I think it was your audition tape.
Okay.
And when I first started to play it, I didn't know what it was. I thought somebody had found an old vintage classic episode of my podcast and just decided to send it to me. And then I realized, no, this is somebody playing me. You actually, part of your audition was to do the opening of my show. So I was going to actually use that today as the opening of the show today, but I couldn't find it. But on that note, I want you to. So many people have reached out to me telling me how much they loved you in the show. They, they don't know any better in terms of who might else have been up for it. Or, I mean, I know Brad Pitt was asked, and then Brad thought, well, he got a little bit scared of the role after he dug into it. And I realized, you had to have the cojones of an escape artist to take me on and play this role. So why don't you tell everybody how that landed in your lap and why you went after it so aggressively?
Okay, I would love to. And I lost you for a few minutes there. I don't know if you can still see me. It was like magic. Something happened.
You never know what's going to happen today. And just before we went live, my lights started flickering. Is my dream catcher spinning? No, it's still now. But right before we went live, it just got like a meat locker in here. So I don't know if they're your ghosts following you around or if the ghosts I have here are excited that you're on. But
wow,
you never know what might happen to the show today.
So there's a lot of backstory on what motivated me that wanted me to meet you, honestly, contact you, and play you on the show. One of the things about being an actor is, there's a lot of roles that you wish you could get. Sometimes it's for the money. Sometimes it's a fun role. Sometimes you do well in the audition, you think, so you hope you'll get it. Generally speaking, that's a bad thing. For me, I like to go in and give my final performance at every audition as if that is the performance. And don't worry about whether they're going to call. And if they call, great. They want to see you. They want to pay you to do it again. Great. If they're not, you don't worry about it. Interesting that this was not one of those cases, which is typical for me. As much as I try to avoid the temptation to really, really want to role, I never wanted a role as much as I wanted this one. And so I knew there was more. I found out later. I know a lot of people were trying out for it. I had heard later there was more than 1,000 people submitted for the role, and they were really looking for someone with dark hair. I had blonde hair. They wanted a beard, and I had no beard at the time. Mustache. They wanted blue eyes. I had brown eyes. So there was so much going against it. So why did I want this role? And then we can talk about what I did to get it, if you want to. So I've been doing. I've always been interested in acting, but I was a touring magician illusionist for many, many years. And as a magician, I believed at one point in my life I could reproduce anything through natural cause, any supernatural act. And I don't know who started that, but magicians typically say that. We've heard that. And what an ego to think that you could reproduce anything out there. Anybody who says that, I'm sympathetic to the magician. I just realized, they've not been around the block yet. Not only is there a lot of things I can't explain, there are things that nobody on earth can explain. But magicians, here's something you can't see it. It's invisible. We'll call this invisible. It's actually a coin. I'm going to place it in my hand, and it now is visible. We can create illusion and make things look like they're magic when they're not. And I started telling people that I would like to debunk the haunted houses. I would investigate anything, and I thought I would have an explanation. So I'm thinking wires and strings and mirrors and all this stuff. And I did a little research on what can make people believe a house is haunted. I was also a clinical hypnotist and did hypnosis shows for years, and the power of suggestion, hypnosis. Had read about, electromagnetic waves and other things affecting people to make them believe they're seeing things. So I went into this and began to do some research on my own and investigation of places that were haunted, thinking I would have logical explanations. And that wasn't the case. I don't want to get too long-winded on all of them, but I mean, some of these go way, way back, stories of a house that was supposed to be haunted that used to be a little church, and there was a Halloween party going. Are you still there?
I'm still here.
Okay, great. Okay.
There's one.
The picture you're seeing there comes later. These are pictures in front of my sister's house. But let me come back to that story. So I need to move quickly through this. Let me skip some things. I was in Ponca City, Oklahoma at the Poncan Theater that was supposed to be haunted. And the manager, Dave May, he called me. He goes, "We want you to do a special Halloween show in this haunted theater. And we want you to do the Houdini water torture cell where you're locked upside down in the tank." I'd done the act before. Had several different companies build these tanks. We did it like a challenge thing. And
I do think we have a picture of that.
One of the older tanks that I had, I said, we can do it. I haven't done it in a while. He says, just this one thing. He said, this is Halloween. Houdini died on Halloween, and this place is a haunted theater. And he's the manager. And I'm like, okay, it's a haunted theater. He said, "Do you believe in ghosts?" I said, "I've never said I believe in ghosts because I see there's things that I can't explain, but I don't necessarily know why." I said, I've skipped a lot of stories. Okay, so they didn't even understand why I would say that, but I'm just very slow to think. I don't know what caused this. Is it a demon? I'm not qualified. But we show up at that theater that day, and it's very cold. And it's in October, obviously, a little town called Ponca City, Oklahoma. And we set up the tank. Well, when I'd done this escape in the past, we would put it's a steel bucket heater down in the water and let it set a couple of days to get the water warm enough to perform the act comfortably. They had no hot water. They had ice cold water coming out. And we're like, man, we're in trouble. Well, I said, put that bucket heater anyway, even if it's just a couple of hours. Any increase, in temperature will help. Right before the act, we're having all these weird things happen, right? All my assistants are talking about feeling strange things. They're smelling popcorn being cooked when it's not. They're telling me they're seeing things. One of my assistants said he felt something go through him, and they're all paranoid. And I'm like, listen, I said, we've got to drop this right now. Business as usual. And you know the rule with escape acts. You don't change anything. Keep your mind, your head in the game. And I noticed the water after the water heater been in a while looked like it was dirty. I said, "Why is that water so dirty? Is that right out of the tap there?" And I stuck my fingers down in it, and it burnt my fingers. The water was boiling.
Whoa!
I have been for years now. I've had people investigate this, and people with the bucket heater. I've talked to people not only to sell the product. I've talked to people who are a lot smarter than I am. Nobody can tell me what would cause that. Electricity, nothing. Something made that water boil, and in no time. And it should have taken a few days just to warm up. That's the first thing that went weird. And now in front of the audience, the way this works, there's a hoist. They took the stocks off, lowered them to the stage. They locked my feet in these stocks, and the padlocks are on the outside of the stocks. They hoist me upside down. The audience pulls a rope. I get lifted up over the tank, down inside. Then they lock the stocks to the outside of the tank. It's a pretty relatively dangerous act. This when I did it, we offered $100,000 to anybody that can prove you can pull your feet out. The stocks were too tight, that there's any gimmicks. It's pure escape. It's something that takes a lot of practice. The first thing was when they start, I'm not going to lie to you guys. This is the truth. During that evening, and this was a packed house in Ponca City at the Poncan Theater, Dave May was having people in the audience that showed up talking about strange things that were happening. And one guy brought him a photograph during the show of a demonic looking creature over his head with horns. And they showed the picture, and it appeared while he was on stage, and no explanation. Right before I made a walk down with my assistants down the aisle to perform that trick, out of the corner of my eye on the stairs that go up to the balcony, I saw that same creature. And here's what people don't realize. I didn't see the picture originally, even though they were showing it on stage. I saw it later and was able to confirm, and it was exactly what I saw before I saw the photo. We walked down to the stage, put my feet in the hasp, and they start bringing me in the air. And suddenly, they said the rope starts pulling on them. And this is all on video. We have multiple cameras set up on this thing. Something is fighting them. And I'm hearing all this noise, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And they're barely getting me up there. Something in my mind says, this thing is going to break because of all this tension. I could fall on my head. So I said, get me over the tank quick. Well, they slide me over the water tank, right? And I'm hanging. The instant I got over it, something did break, and I fell, and I banged into the side of the tank. I wasn't able to get any air, and I went into the water, and they forced me on down in. There's a couple of assistants that have certain jobs. One of the guys is standing in front of the tank like a spotter. He's watching me, and I signal him if something feels wrong. I told him to cut the act, and he was not in his spot.
Oh.
And that's a big rule. You never move. Why wasn't he? When the tank fell, they couldn't get the hasp on, right? They're fighting with this thing. And he runs up there to help them. So he's not watching me. He's up there trying to hurry and help them get the lid on, so I don't run out of air. Well, I had no air. I blacked out in this tank that night. I woke up in the floor, and that was the weird part of this. And I had water in my lungs. I came and I crawled out coughing, but I actually had fallen off the tank. Somehow I got out with no recollection of getting out. Dave May brought out the piece that what broke. And here's what was interesting. It had nothing to do with the tension. From the stalks, these 4 straps come together, and there's a device that a mountain climber would use to attach that they open to take the hoist off once I'm in. And this thing looked like something had beat it with a hammer. And it was heavy duty steel. I've taken it to many people and showed what could cause this. And I heard various stories. One guy said, it looks like it melted. Somebody else said, I don't know. He said, it looks like someone took a sledgehammer to it. It was in fine condition when I went in. And the hoist with this double pulley system that was fighting them, right in front of the audience, you see it run through. I'll show you the video someday. There's no explanation for this night. So afterwards, Dave May, the manager, even came to me and said, now, do you believe this place is haunted? And I said, I would say the word haunted. It's haunted. Yes. Is it a ghost? What has caused that? I don't really know. I'm not qualified to know what's caught, what it is, except I know there's no explanation. I cannot reproduce those things through trickery.
Is that theater still there?
It's the theater. It is still there. In fact,
let me ask you a quick question. I hate to interrupt you. I want to ask you. We're talking life and death here. Your life. Yeah, have you ever gotten into a situation where you really thought, I better, even if it's last minute, my intuition is telling me I better cancel this.
That was the night. It was that night, and I thought, I was fighting it. I was nervous, and I did cancel it. As soon as I went in the tank. But my intuition told me when I was above in the air over the stage when they were fighting, get me over the tank quick, where they were to move the rope, and a couple of people to kind of grab my hand, slide me over that tank. I knew it was about to break. Just because there was no explanation. I'm going to fall. And if I had fallen, I would be dead or paralyzed. I would have hit the stage. I got banged up, but I actually hit the sides of the tank. I fell over the tank. But I mean, the second I got there, and get this, we actually saw, on the video, a flash of light across the air the moment the thing breaks. This is crazy, man. So let me tell you, I want to move forward with this. At that point, I became very, very interested in hauntings. Brian Barnes was a guy I went to college with at OBU in Shawnee, Oklahoma Baptist University. He wrote me later saying he was now an exorcist. I actually interviewed him live on Facebook. And he said, you really inspired me in a lot of ways. I'm like, through trickery? So I met with this guy thinking he's got a fake cross with smoke in it, and powder and all these little tricks. And no, the guy's completely sincere. And I started researching this on my own. So I'm skipping a lot of stories because I want to get to the one about my sister. So her husband dies. She's got 2 boys, and they moved to LA, and they're house hunting. And I'm in Oklahoma at the time. I still hadn't moved out here. And she says, I found a house that's supposed to be haunted. And I said, well, is it? And this is all through text. I kept most of these texts. She's like, well, she got a laugh. I'm like, what is it? She said, well, every room has this weird character look about it all. So I said, please move into the house. They moved in. From the moment they moved in, things started happening, and we have a ton on videotape. And her boys, I'm so proud of them. They were so scared with the things happening to them. But I remember the first thing she wrote and told me was that she put groceries on the couch bag, went in the kitchen, come back, and they all fall on the floor. I saw on Facebook Memories 2 days ago the same thing. She put a post, which was a Christmas stuff she had that could fall in. Plug stuff in outlets and plug themselves out of the wall. And this goes on where she sees the swimming pool change from blue one night to this weird green, foggy smoke. It turned real green. And her boy, Holland, are standing there, and they watch the figure of a person swim across the water. They watch a body swim through the water, no body in sight, one side to the other. And that's weird. The boys start seeing things nightly. Hearing voices, hearing noises every night, cliche, 3 a.m. in the morning, crashes and noises. And Hunter is the younger one. He was still in high school, but he was the brave one. I told them all, I said, listen to me, nobody's gotten hurt. I said, if you stay brave, you stay strong, just allow the things to happen. Enjoy it. Don't be afraid. Well, he saw these 3 faces one night staring at him. He runs toward them and then disappeared. The other boy was older, and he was more terrified of all this. And they were really wanting to move out of the house. Well, I finally moved in with them. So I moved to LA. My wife hadn't moved out here yet. This is a great, huge place. I mean, was
this that house that you and I were going to do the exorcism in the basement?
You did it over the phone. You helped me with,
yeah, that was a creepy house.
So yes, all this stuff was happening. So I get there and I can't explain it. So I have video of doors opening, slamming regularly. We saw a figure appear in front of the door, which you showed a moment ago, a shadow. We got home one night. It disappears while we're snapping pictures. It's there and then it's gone. We see the bushes outside. So I'm the capital commercial guy on this thing. I said, let's make this thing a haunted bed and breakfast. And, we never did it. But I thought, this is so wild. I can't explain this stuff. So we actually invited her friends over, and we gave a tour of the house and told them all about the ghost story, what had happened, real true stories. So I stay there one night, and I'm hearing all these noises at 3 a.m. And I start to get up to go in there, and I'm like shaking. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with me? I'm not afraid of anything. I'm scared to go in there. I'm like, I got to get back in bed. I crawled back in bed, and all of a sudden I hear a voice say, if you're afraid, maybe I can play you some soft music or something. I'm like, what? Well, it was my cell phone. My T-Mobile phone spoke up, and it about gave me a heart attack. I actually went to the cell phone store, and apparently this phone, I kind of regret getting rid of it. I said, this phone's possessed or something. It would cut in your conversation occasionally. It would hear you, and it would say something. And I didn't realize it, so I guess it heard me talk to myself. But I about had a heart attack that night when I thought something was talking. People are always saying, go in there and talk to the spirit and ask it questions. And all that. You know what? I don't want to hear that spirit answer my question. I'm going to have a heart attack on the spot. So I tell you, we've never seen anything like it. So I contacted you. So I apologize for, running on about these stories.
Oh, no, please. No, please. I'm glad you are.
Well, I
remember the night that went. It was live, and you and I went. I'm watching you.
Right.
You've got your camera, and it's live streamed to me. We go
phone,
down that basement.
Yes. So the
I
basement,
could even feel the vibes through, and I wasn't even there. Witnessing that basement was unlike anything I had really ran into in a long
You
time.
know,
There's some things that have happened there.
so many things that happened. The real estate agent wouldn't go down in the basement. It was very dark in there. It was very scary for sure. And there was a lot of old things we found in the corners. But my sister actually had discovered this originally when she went down with some lights and some pictures, that we saw some bone up in the ceiling and antique child's crutches. They were wooden crutches crammed in the ceiling, you know, the boards that you run, whatever you call those, shoved up in there. And they'd been there forever. And we thought we need to do something to see if these are human bones. So I said, you know what? We need to wait for a paranormal team to come in here and do this and let them look at this and see what this is. But let me back to the basement. We always heard noises in the basement, a lot of scary stuff going on there. I put some props and things and stored them in that house. My wife came to visit and got a taste of what was going on. She wouldn't move in. So we had to get our own apartment. The boys were moving out, and my sister, it was just time for her to move. You know, she couldn't stay there any longer. But the end of the story was this. And this is when you were helping me, because we wanted to do some sort of exorcism on the phone, or at least a prayer. And for this house, all these things that happened. But the very last day I'm leaving, you know, I mean, in every way, it feels like this place was saying goodbye or something. I'm in the basement. And of course, as with everything else I've mentioned, the doors and all the stuff moving by themselves, things flying off shelves. I didn't tell you the rawhide that the dog would chew. We had my sister had a girl come to stay there and pay rent, and she moved out because it went across the floor by itself. So I am down in this basement, and I see these are like little light floating around, thick.
I saw that. I
right,
witnessed
you saw it, right, all around me. And I go down there and I show my sister. I said, this is never, we've never seen this before. I've been in that basement. I looked at her many times. This is the only time, right when I was leaving and I was getting the last of the stuff. And she's like, what is it? I'm like, you know, I don't know. And somebody said they're orbs. Well, so I put the video on Facebook, and some people believed and said it was orbs. And then it was interesting, very interesting to me that a couple of people said, you know, a logical explanation, which I can understand. I'm all for trying to think logical. You know, there was some sort of insect or moth thing and dust thing. And there were some people saying, no, it's not ghosts, it's this. But what was interesting to me was there wasn't one answer, one logical explanation. There was multiple guesses. Nobody really knew what it was. But they were thick and they were all around. And that was almost like I'm saying, is this plane saying goodbye to me? I just got to be honest, you know. I want to say the paranormal retired me from doing escapes. You know, I used to do illusions and magic and escapes for a living. And honestly, a true story here, we had that water tank destroyed after that night. I left there paranoid from that theater, nervous. And there were some things that happened. And this is the honest truth. I used to be able to hold my breath forever, up to 4 minutes at the bottom of a swimming pool opening locks. After that date at the Ponkin Theater, I had lost the ability from that moment on to hold my breath, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. I went to the doctor. They checked my heart, felt my heart. The doctor said, you know, all we could say is whatever gift that you had from God that holds your breath so long, it's just gone now. You know, you're like the rest of us. So I had one water torture cell escape book, and it was not the same tank, but it was at the K County Fair, which is near Ponca City up there. I was still in Oklahoma. And so we had this book, and I went up there, and it was really strange because right before this performance, I got vertigo. I never had it in my life, and things were spinning. And I'm going up there. My sister came up, and she's like, you've got to cancel this. I'm like, you know, I'm just nervous about it. It's just too close to the Ponkin Theater. Yeah. This was about 30 miles. The director of the fair says, we've got you scheduled for a couple of radio interviews. We want you to do 2 radio stations. I said, okay, I'll do it. And where's the radio stations? At the Ponkin Theater. Literally connected to the Ponkin Theater, there are 2 radio. I had to go there and interview on the radio next to this theater. And the whole time I'm like going, I am such a hypocrite. You know, I'm afraid to say I believe it's ghosts. right? That I can't explain what it is. But I'm scared to death. You know, I'm afraid. And I did that. I survived that escape, and it was really a bad escape. It took me forever to get out of the thing again. I mean, my breath, I was hurting, and I quit. I stopped. So, you know, when this role came up, we were going through all this haunting stuff that had already started. We'd already been in the house, and I was already wishing I could. People were saying, you need to get a priest. I got to say, we were getting advice from everybody. Bring a priest, bring an exorcist, I don't even understand this stuff. Red brick around the house, use sage, use a Ouija board. We were getting these kind of friends, all of you coming in with those specific things. Say, you need to do this. You need to ask the spirit what it wants. And I'm like, no. I told my sister, I told the boy, don't be talking to the spirits. I mean, you're doing the right. They're barely surviving, the boys, especially this as it is. You know, just do your thing and let it be happening around you. Don't be trying to talk to this thing, you know. I think that was wrong. That was my opinion. That was the only part that I had a true opinion on. The rest, you know, I don't know. But that was going on. And so when this role came up, I thought, I love horror. I would love to have been in a horror series. That's without a doubt. I did some cheating, if you will. I've never really cheated to get a role like this. I faked my appearance.
I mean, you looked like when I first saw the reel that either you or somebody else sent me, and it might have even been Brian. Somebody sent me a reel about you as me, and I thought it was me at first, and then it took me. Then I realized what I was looking at.
I found you.
Great job, man! You had the contacts, the beard, the hair, the collar,
beard, dark hair. I used makeup, and so I didn't use the fake beard for every round. The next one, I was trying to grow a beard, and then we tried to put makeup on it. Right, so we were trying to make a transition, but it wasn't that long. And so I made it through a round or two. And the other thing I did was I researched you. And one of the rounds finally the casting director said, I got a question. What color is your hair? Do you have a beard? I mean, so they thought I did. And then they were realizing, wait a minute, this is looking like it kind of had blonde showing. It had some dark showing, you know. And then I said, well, honestly, no. I said, but I grow a beard quickly. I'll color my hair for this role. So the other thing that got me through and got their attention was I researched you and your life. There was a round that says, write your own exorcism. And I used facts from your life. I even tied your dad into a story, a mention that the demon, you know, which isn't a true story, but he was in the Navy. That's true. And that I had wrote that, you know, something about I forget, I have to watch it myself now. I think I've still got it, but referring to him, your dad, you know, the time he almost died, and, you know, the Navy. And I put all these real facts in there. Well, then it raised some questions. Did you get a hold of the script? How do you know? Because a lot of the stuff in there was very much in line with, and I almost die, right? This is pure guesswork now. I almost die in this thing, and then I come back and win. And it was very similar to the scripts following your stories. So again, I grew attention. Like, you know, how do you know? Did somebody get him the script? You know, what you could tell that's kind of where we were headed. How do you know this storyline? Well, honestly, it just came from my heart. It seemed logical that I would go through this thing when you had almost died, and then you came back and barely made it, and you survived. And it was so close. It got all sorts of attention. So I get a call from the casting director before the weekend, and it's going to shoot the week right after the weekend. All right. It started shooting on a Monday, but your character, Shawn Whittington, was supposed to be there Tuesday. That, you know, you did a great job, blah, blah, blah. But I wasn't in the first place. Somebody that had done more TV, I think is what it was, had more, a more known actor was trying for the role. And he says, you didn't shave your beard. I'm like, no. He goes, well, he says it's probably okay to shade out. Looks, I think they're going with this other guy, but it's okay. You were great, you're wonderful. And my wife says, she says, well, you should really be happy. But I was crushed. I never wanted a role so bad, and I never tried so hard. And something in my heart said, this is for you. This is, and of course we're dealing with all this haunting stuff, and I'm wanting to meet you personally. And and then he said, you're not going to believe this. Something has happened. And the other guy's out. I never did hear what happened, but he said, you didn't shave your beard, did you? I'm like, no. And he says, my gosh, you know what? He goes, you got the part. You report on Tuesday. Well, my hair was not dark brown, and I tried to color it a little darker. It didn't look right. I barely had a beard, and I show up there, and the person who greets me is Eric Roberts, actor Eric Roberts. And
yeah.
And he's like, hey, I'm Eric. I'm like, Eric, we've met. He and I have actually worked before. He goes, oh, I remember you. Yeah, we've already been together on a couple of shows from years back, acting. And the Brian came up and he goes, I'm not buying it. And he calls my look. He get the makeup girl. She's amazing.
Yeah.
She instantly, I've got a full dark beard. The hair looks like you. This isn't colored. This is all through makeup stuff. I mean, I don't even know what she used. Blue contacts. Wow. Suddenly.
Had you worn contacts before?
I wear contacts.
Oh, okay, cool.
So we actually had to get my prescription to finish the season so that I could actually see. But instantly there I was. But it was not but just a few weeks later that it was my dark hair, long hair, that it was my beard. I just needed some time to finish growing it and get the colors right. And so we finished it up then. So I can't tell you how elated I've been. I think it's the most exciting thing I've ever been involved in. And I don't know if I should talk anything about the potential future or the spinoff.
On that note, before I ask Zach what he needs, on that note, let me just say, I'm not going to give anything away, but let me say this:
okay.
Call it a hunch, call it intuition, call it ESP, call it whatever you want to call it. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that I don't think we've seen the last of Steve Crawford playing Reverend Shawn Whittington on.
That would probably be a great way to put it. We won't get in any trouble that way.
Well,
right.
Steve, my question for you is, you hear all these actors that talk about, it took us hours to do all this makeup to get to look like the Swamp Thing. You're telling me it didn't take that long to get to look like Shawn?
No, it didn't. And I wish I'd sent you that picture. I was really surprised that she was so good. I was just in and out. She was spending her time on the demon creatures and the people.
She used to treat me like the Fonz when I got into her chair. I was like, do something with this. I'm going to be on camera. She would look at me, and go, "You're good to go."
It was amazing. I was
pluck my
really
hair
surprised.
a little bit and say, "No, I don't want to change a thing. You're good to go." And I'm like, God bless you.
I was absolutely amazed.
Did you ever see a movie called Lord of Illusions?
I know Lord of Illusions
by Clive Barker. Yeah.
Yes, I've seen it.
I just saw the movie the other night. I thought about you the whole time through there.
Oh, you did? I've seen it. I've seen it many times. Interesting movie. I really love the movie.
And sure. Are you in LA now?
I'm in LA now.
Have you
am.
been to
I'm from doing Magic Illusion
Magic Castle. Have you ever been there?
Yes, I'm actually going on the 18th with a friend of mine who just happens to be a film producer. He does faith-based inspirational films. Raymond King. He lives in Texas, but he's in LA about once a week. He's actually producing Die Hard Christmas musical. Believe it or not, he's in the show.
I heard the haunted castle, the Magic Castle is haunted, very haunted.
And I'm going to be there. I haven't been there in years. I was supposed to perform before COVID, before I became a full-time actor. I was actually supposed to perform or audition to perform there because I was coming into town to be the magician. I was the magician at Magic Mountain Amusement Park temporarily for one season. and then I did a scary Halloween show. This was like 5 years ago, and then I did their Santa, and at that point, I quit doing magic to act full time because I knew I wasn't able to. Acting was my education. I've always tried to do a little bit of the few months I had in a year, years back in Oklahoma. But honestly, in Oklahoma, where I'm from, I was on the road.
Isn't it funny that my father's family's all from there?
I knew that.
You and I have this weird, a lot of connections you and I have in our lives together, which is I find very interesting.
So let me show you what happened. You about how quickly the change. Can you see this picture of Barbara Bush?
Yeah.
Wait. Okay. Okay. I'm sorry. Whoever that may be. No pearls. That's not Barbara. George.
Yeah.
So this is kind of what they did in the makeup chair. I sit down. The lady, she twisted and turned me. We'll make a few little movements here. We'll just. And what happens next is when we open it up, it should look a little different. Can you see how it looks different?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ben Franklin. That's
There you go.
Anyway, so yeah, it was just like magic. But so I've got a picture of Eric Roberts there with me, and what you see how I looked right before, and I actually posted these on Instagram, which is Entertainer Steve Crawford or Actor Steve Crawford.
That's your website, isn't it? Entertainer Steve Crawford.
So Entertainer Steve Crawford is my Instagram page. My old website for magic was entertainerstevecrawford.com, but I retired from all that stuff. That's just because I use that.
And you have a really nice Facebook page called Actor Steve Crawford.
And an Actor Steve Crawford Facebook. But yeah, I put the pictures on there. If you want to scroll through a look for a bit, you see the before and the after. I put here I am when I showed up on set. Here I am in the makeup chair right after. And it's just amazing, and I've never felt more comfortable in a role, and I never felt.
Well, I want to tell you something from the bottom of my heart. Hearing about how passionate you were and how hard you worked to get the role, really, I was flattered, and I was really proud to watch you. And it wasn't like I was watching you play me. I was just watching a very gifted, passionate, talented actor just portray this guy who happens to be in the biz of demon busting, and he's been through a lot. And I forgot it was about me. I mean, you took me out of that, which I don't know if anybody else could have done that. So I was so happy for you. Getting to know you, I'm just happy for you that you did get it, and you did a great job. And
Thank you.
Everybody that I know is proud of you and loves the job you did.
Well, it's answered prayer for sure. And I honestly, I shouldn't have got the role when you look at my appearance or a lot of other things. I feel like I was very blessed. It was a gift and an answered prayer. It really was, because I wanted that so bad. And the thing about playing that part was we try to really believe in most of our roles that we're that person and all, but we never really reached that 100%. This time, I think I reached that point in my head more. I believed every minute of it. I actually went home and prayed and wanted to make sure I wasn't being followed, by a demon or something. It sounds a little crazy. I never told anybody that before, but the experiences were so real. And, there was a scene where Jesus, I was experiencing what
I love what they did that, because I don't know if you and I talked about this. What really happened to me in that story was I found myself out in the desert. I thought I got mugged, and I had a loss of time, and I was dumped in the desert. I went from looking at this old man in the corner of a room to all of a sudden I'm waking up and I'm not there anymore. I'm in the desert. I thought I got hit over the head, drug out to the desert, but I had the vision of Christ actually hanging on the cross on Calvary, and they probably got a little scared. My description of what I saw was just basically a mangled, bloody, muddy slab of meat hanging on a tree, which I knew was Christ. But it was the vision of him that I crawled over to the cross and I kissed him on his foot, which turned everything around. But what they ended up changing in that, I loved what they did with that. The way they changed that and how you played that scene. I love the way they
And it was
changed
all
that.
so sincere. I really appreciated the actor himself. He's played that role of Jesus before. That I was able to forget that he was an actor, and really live the moment. And I could feel that from him, that he was connecting with that. It was really a special moment as well. But man, everything about it, I absolutely love your life, and I'm reading. I've got both the books here. If anybody doesn't have these books, I will autograph it for you and send you a copy. No, I wouldn't autograph it, would I? Yeah, God's Ghost and the Paranormal Ministry. But these, and your stories are here, and I mean, it's amazing stuff. Great photographs, and I just appreciate you in so many ways, and I'm honored to get to play Reverend Shawn Whittington. Thank you so much.
I love you, brother, and I respect you. And
Shawn, before we let Steve go, I do want to say something. Before you send me my yearly paycheck of $1, I need you to send it to him to do that trick again. Okay. So
I wish it was magic.
Yeah,
you got it.
I need him to check the money before it comes to me this time. Okay.
Very cool.
I
Very
like
cool.
that trick.
I do too. Steve, before we get cut off, brother, I love you. I respect you. I'm proud of you. Such a nice, passionate, talented person. Give your wife a big hug and a kiss for me. And next time you go on vacation or something, or take a little vacation from working all the time, I'd love to have you back.
I would love to come back. Thank you so much,
brother. Have a great weekend.
Thank you all. Thank you
I'll
for
talk
having
to you
me.
soon.
See you soon, my friend.
Bye-bye, brother.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Actor Steve Crawford. Proud to call him a friend. Proud to have him playing me, and I trust me. You haven't seen the last of him in many roles. He's working a horror movie right now, but you haven't seen the last of him as Reverend Shawn Whittington on TV or film. So I'm just very proud of him. So honored that he had the time to be here today. I'll get him back, I promise. Alrighty, my next guest is this Monday, the 11th. You guys all know her and love her. Dr. Joy Pugh will be here for the monthly series Joy to the World. And Joy just agreed to be here in 2024, the second Monday of every month, all throughout 2024. So God bless her for that. Don't forget, right after we cut out here, go over to the PAC channel to check out Zach's special show for today. On that note, I want to thank Zach and Adrian Clayton for co-producing my show. I couldn't do it without them. Go to usocc.org or bishopjameslong.com. That's the church that I belong to. You'll find the links to night prayer. You'll find the links to Bible study. And our church welcomes everybody. We have a wonderful United States Old Catholic Church clergy and parishioners Facebook page. We welcome everybody. Come check it out if you're looking for that type of community to be a part of. Thank you to Things Network. Thank you to Skeleton Key Network. Thank you to Temple of Phoenix Rising Entertainment. Thank you to PACT, Little P, capital ACT, Podcasting for All Coming Together channel, for all these networks simulcasting my show. And also check out Zach's website, communitypayitforward.us. Just go there and be pleasantly surprised. That's all I'm going to say. And thank you to Spirit, Alabama, Paranormal Inspection Research Investigation Team Facebook page, live for also simulcasting my show. Okay, guys, it is bad joke time. I'm going to pull a bad joke that one of you sent in out of this haunted carnival barker hat. And everybody wants to know, haunted carnival barker hat, the story of the gentleman that wore this and his daughter donated it to me after he passed away. That story is in my second book. Okay. This is a pretty good one. Why are groups of fish so smart? Because they travel in schools. Good night, Danny. Good night, Jack. Good night, dog. Good night, Harold. Rest in peace. Good night, Ernie. Good night, Bill. Good night, Dan. I love you all. God bless you all in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Peace.